Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Lunchtime Learning. It's a real honour to be joined today by the head of network of Raine and Horne, Mindy Powell-Hodges. So thank you so much for joining me, Mindy. How are you today?
I am well, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here.
Well, I'd like to thank James Trimble for the introduction. So James, I know you sent me a message to know when it's going to be on. So thank you, and thank you for your kind introduction. And also, I look forward to meeting you. I think it's in a week's time as well. So very excited. Luke and I coming over to Eric. Luke most probably for the seventh time, me for the second time.
Right.
And looking forward to meeting some exceptional agents, being a sponge and learning more. So thank you for allowing us to come and meet you next week as well. Really, really excited and looking forward
We're
to that.
looking forward to it. Yes.
Thank you. So tell us about yourself. How did you start? How did you get into the industry?
Wow. It's a bit of a wild tale. Obviously, I'm American. I married an Englishman from Chiswick, so we met in the Middle East when I was working in the Middle East. My parents raised racehorses, so I was asked to go over to Abu Dhabi and help write the rules of racing. And I was meant to be there for 4 months, and I ended up staying there for almost 8 years, 7, 8 years, and ended up being the director of publicity and marketing for the royal family in Abu Dhabi.
Wow.
So I know, absolutely amazing. Back in the early 90s, I mean, they just took anybody. That's what I say anyway. So it was great. It was a wonderful experience. Working for the family was tremendous. I really, really loved every moment of it. Our daughter was born in Dubai. My husband is from Chiswick there in the UK, and he had family that had moved out here. So we would pop in and out of Australia quite regularly. And before Edwina had gotten too old, we sort of went, we need to make the decision. Are we going to go? Are we going to go there or not? And here we are. So that's 20 some years ago. So I came over here with this skill set of the thoroughbred industry, having sold horses, done, all of these bits and pieces that had you mix and mingle with a lot of different people, different personalities. And I looked at real estate. Obviously, that's the hottest topic over here. So I thought, oh, why not? Let's do it. So I was an agent for a little while on the northern beaches, and my husband took a project in China. My daughter got really sick, so I had to sort of realign my working hours, and I decided to go sort of more of a corporate role. And here I am today, running Raine and Horne. So yeah, it's been crazy actually, but I love every minute of it because I love to build teams. I love growth. That's sort of really where I'm at. I like to drive businesses. I like to push the envelope.
Okay, thanks. You've given me so many questions now. I don't know where to start. So if we take a step back, working for a royal family,
Yes.
This is all about sharing lessons, and you talked about networking there and stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously building a network in real estate is really important.
Mm.
So what were the lessons that you took away from there and working with the royal family?
Don't be afraid to step back and be quiet and just listen. The learnings there, obviously big learnings for me, different culture. Here was a gal that had never been out of the United States. Didn't really have a big higher education, did in the thoroughbred industry because I was an accredited this, that, and the other and that, but just went in and listened, really picked up opportunity. I think sometimes when you be quiet and you really look around you, you see the opportunities become very clear. Sheikh Sultan wanted more than anything to have international recognition for horse racing. And once we started to set those rules in place, the French Derby had gone bust and was running around looking for sponsors. And I picked it up. I went to him. I said, look, we're probably going to need, 6-7 million to really run the day, to run the sponsorship properly, to wow the crowd, spill that into tourism and let people know what Abu Dhabi has to offer. This is a pronged fork, not just a one mainstream thing. Promote Arabian racing, not just thoroughbred racing, which was his grandfather's real passion. And we grabbed a hold of it. We got the contract and we did it. So that all happened really, really quickly. And I stood there that night thinking, well, I won't tell you exactly what I thought in my head, but it was like, holy, how am I going to do this? I've never done this before. So I just reached out to people around me and just said, look, if you were presented with this problem or that problem, how would you attack it? And just called and was humble and spoke to people, and they were quite helpful. And most of the people wanted to see the race day go ahead because, it run for 200 years. Nobody wanted to see it not run. So a lot of people were really helpful. So that really kicked things off for me at a very high executive corporate level, dealing with the French and their different idiosyncrasies around business and different things like that. There were so many learnings just in that process right there.
Well, I think you shared a couple there. So listening skills and reaching out to people. Yep. So have you got any tips for people how to listen? Because being in real estate, being in front of sellers, landlords, buyers, tenants, that's a really important skill. And we tend to talk too much.
I think one of the key things, particularly at corporate level, I push into my people is we are here to serve. Those are our clients. They're your client. So putting empathy and compassion in front of it. Now, that doesn't mean you just lay over and give in, but sometimes empathy and compassion can be just listening and understanding their problem and their pain points. Once you understand that person's pain point, that now gives you leverage. So if I know that you're maybe financially struggling, or maybe the marriage is breaking down as a listing agent, I'm just thinking as an agent now, I'm just using that as a component, then I know that person needs to make decisions quite quickly. They need to understand the process. You need to explain to them how you're going to do your job, and make sure that those milestones that you put in place for that vendor, you tick them off very early on and you commit to what you're going to do. I'll give you a good example. I worked for a tremendous agent by the name of John McManus here in Australia. He was the hottest agent on the planet. He did 4.4 million GCI in the first year that he opened his LJ Hooker office when he left McGraw. And one of the key things that he did is he called his vendors every single day but Sunday. And it could be as simple as, hi, Stephen, it's John here. I've got no information for you other than, are you okay? We're looking forward to seeing you again on the open, or I've sent out another contract, or we had 3 inquiry today digitally. That's it. And when you need to, and the reason you do that is because when you need to sit that vendor down and align them to the market, you have a relationship with them. You can't build that relationship by contacting them once a week. There's no trust. There's no relationship.
So we met John last time we were in Arek, and we went we went to his office, and we listened to him make all his calls. He had the most amazing, incredible office that actually looked like a house when you came in. It was incredible. I think from memory, he had 4 pairs of shoes. So depending on where he was in the day, he had 1 for the office, 1 where he went out, 1 if he met clients, 1 maybe if he was going somewhere and he needed whatever. It was fascinating. So,
he's very process driven. He doesn't step out of the process. Very, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's very, very process driven.
Okay, brilliant. So I'm going to come back to that. We could be here all day, Mindy. I'm really sorry. So coming back, so listening, obviously an important skill. Then you talked out to reaching out to people, getting out their comfort zone in any industry. How do you take that first step to get out your comfort zone? If you don't feel comfortable reaching out, I know you reached out to some incredible people, but, let's just say I'm starting my brokerage agency today. I want to obviously get some sellers. I want to get some landlords. I'm a little bit nervous.
What's to be nervous about, Stephen? What is to be nervous about? The word is no. If they say no, they're not saying no to you. They're only saying no to the question. Step over that and move on. you have literally got to build that into your head. That it has to be probably the one barrier. You can make so many mistakes, but if you can't get out of that comfort zone and put that behind you, it's almost like another persona. It's almost when you sit down and you get onto that phone and you start prospecting, set your room right, set the light right, set the temperature right, put your headphones on and focus, pinpoint focus and listening to every yes, no, every aspect of that conversation. There is an art form to it and you will perfect it. It's much like my team here that recruit for new business for us. I have them sat outside of my office so I can hear everything they say on the phone. And if they're starting to have a bit of a down day or I'll say, hey, Lockie, you need to step off the phone for just a little bit. Go for a walk around the block. You're not perfecting your conversations. You're not listening. And he knows exactly what I'm talking about. So it is one of those things that can be quite challenging. Some people never overcome those challenges of people, just the rejection piece of it. But I'm just telling you, just have an out-of-body experience. That is not you that's receiving that negativity. Step out of that and get in the zone. That's what you got to do. That's how you're going to be successful.
Brilliant. Where'd you get that growth mindset? Where's it come from?
I have no idea. Honestly, no idea. I'm a very determined person. I mean, I remember I was the first woman in the United States to hold an executive position at a racetrack when in my early 20s. And this is a weird story, but my immediate boss passed away. I'd been there for like 3 weeks. And so I went around to his boss and I said, I want his job. And he went, are you serious? He's like, his body's not even cold yet. I was like, I don't care. I want it. And he's like, there's no woman that's ever done it. And I said, I don't care. I'll do it for the same salary that you're paying me right now. Give me 3 months to do it. If I screw it up, okay, fine. But I want it because I want this. And I did it. So I'm just of that mindset. When I set my sights on something, oh my goodness, look out. And I think everybody's got to be that way. If you're not passionate about winning, being competitive, whatever that is, that why that drives you, well, find it. Find that why that drives you. Figure out what that is that's going to light the fire.
Brilliant. Thank you. Just on prospecting.
Yep.
So I've changed my language on prospecting because when I have the conversation when I'm training, I go, how many of you like to prospect and pick up the phone? And there are not many hands that get raised. And then I say to them, and how many of you like to create business relationships? And everybody puts their hands up. So I said, but that's exactly what you're doing.
Yes, exactly.
And it's very interesting. You know, you talked about mindset, but mindset with language as well is really, really important. And the same thing with role play. Who likes to role play? Oh, no, I don't like to role play. But professionals practice before they play. So are you a professional? Yes. Okay. We'll practice. So it's really interesting, the power of your mind and language as well.
Yeah. The prospecting thing for me is, and not to dilute a lot of the conversation, but I believe that agents have a farm area. And I would look at that zone as that is my area. That's my country. That's my empire. That is me. I'm going to know every person that's in there. If I've got 2,000 properties in there, I am going to know everybody in there by inviting them to my opens, leaving them coffee vouchers, all kinds of different things that are going to tie them back to me. So when I do pick up the phone and I call them, it's not such a dirty word. Hey, this is Mindy Powell-Hodges. And the thing about it is you got to think about, again, have that bit of that empathy. You don't know what that person's doing. The dog might have just, needs to go for a walk. The kid's pulling on your pant leg, or whatever that is. So have that empathetic mind. Then it doesn't attack you so much. So when that person says, no, I don't want to talk to you right now, or I'm busy, and hangs up on you, that's okay. Just say, oh, all good. Sorry. I'll try it in a month or so. Never let the door close, but just have that little bit of empathy, because then it doesn't attack you so much personally. So if you're thinking that person is just the wrong timing, wrong part of the day, I'll try them again in a month. I'll double back by, or I might just drop them a little coffee voucher, a little personal note in the mailbox to say, You sounded so busy today. I just wanted to drop off some information about the market in your area and a little coffee on me. Have a great week. Just, again, personalizing my zone, getting those guys to know, hey, that lady, she's actually quite nice.
Okay, I love that. Thank you. I've got a training session in an hour, so that may well be in the training session now. So thank you.
And the other thing is any juniors that you have working off that. So what I do is I find, I know in England you'd have a tea or cake shop somewhere or a coffee area that then I work with a cafe that's in my local community. And I say, just here, give me these vouchers. They're going to drop them off. I'll be by every week to pay for those coffees. Again, you're feeding the community, so they know you. They hear anybody that wants to list and sell or has any property issues, they're going to pass your name. Make sure somebody is really, really close to your office. And I always say, always pop in and say hello. So, and I cannot tell you how many people would pop in the office and just say, thank you so much for the coffee. It was great.
Okay, well, I'm coming next week, so tell me what coffee do you like, and I'm going to stop off at the local coffee shop and buy you something.
I'm going to take you to my favorite coffee shop. So we'll I've got this divine one just around the corner, hidden up a lane. So you'll think I'm going to mug you, but it'll be okay.
So coming back, you
Yes.
talked about building teams, building a culture, growth, drive, and driving your business.
Yeah.
So how do you build a good team?
So when I'll just use this as an example, this last little team that I've got here. I've got about 32 people under me here at corporate. When I came in, I took a little notebook that I used to carry around, and I didn't do a lot in my first 90 days. I just sat, I watched how the team communicated together. Were they siloing? Were they working as a cohesive team? And then I met with each and every one of them, and I didn't meet in my office like the big boss. I took them off for coffee and sat down and said, look, I just want to get to know you, and I want to know where you want to be, what that goal is in your life. Where is it? It's probably not with us. I completely understand that if it's not with us. So how can I help you get there? Because in my life, I've had a lot of people come into my life to help me leg up or give me that opportunity to go and be a better person or help me drive myself to that goal that I wanted to achieve. So I've got a very strong belief in that. Number one is to sit down and understand your team and what they need. If they're not working right in the team and they're toxic and the culture's wrong and I'm so sorry for the language. I'm going to say I have a no dickhead policy around the office. Sorry for the language. I don't want to offend anyone, but I am very, very strong on that. We're kind to one another. We're empathetic to one another because life can dish out some very, very shitty things to people. Somebody's dog dies, their father passes, it happens. So let's understand what the needs of our community are within our community. This is our daytime marriage. You wouldn't be mean to your husband. You wouldn't be mean to your children. So these people we're married to them for the day. So we're all going to be empathetic. We're going to lean into one another. We had an event here. We had to fold, 400 presentation folders. You guys would have those awful things that you got to line up and make it all look nice and slick to put in our rebrand to give out as presents to people. Everybody got up out of their seat. I did not have to ask. Everybody got up out of their seat and jumped in to do it, to make sure that it got done in a timely, quick manner. That's the sort of team I drive. And if you lead like that and you have that culture like that, I was in there. I rolled up my sleeves. I was in there. Everybody works together like that. And I think that's where the culture comes in. The rest of it falls into place, Stephen. If you have the right people in here and everybody cares about one another and they're leaning into whatever department or whatever problem or issue there is, the rest of it just falls into place.
How do you get those right people in the right seats of the bus?
I cut them out if they don't. I make hiring mistakes. Everybody's going to, everybody can tell a story. Everybody can behave for an hour if you're interviewing them. And you can call the references and you can do all that. Very seldom where the references tell you that person's weak points. And everybody has them. But some of the weak points you can't tolerate. Some with the weak points, you could support them through training or help or realigning how they work or offering them software that might take that piece off of them that they're not really great at. So understanding that and providing that. But if that person doesn't fit within there, get rid of them. And it sounds hard, but we've had to let a few people go that had been here for a while, but I felt that they were dragging the business back. They're not taking up the new things that we're wanting to do, the new attitudes that we wanted. So they're not on the bus. They're off the bus.
Okay. So motivating your team.
Motivating my team. A lot of different things. It can be just the smallest little thing by coming up and saying, hey, I just saw what you did and that was tremendous. Hey, that's a great idea. Let's implement it. So we have an end of financial year thing here, which is guests ready to come up. So I fly everybody in from all over the state. So we've got 34 people coming. I've even got a consultant that's done some big things for us this year, and a contractor. So I'm bringing them into the fold. They will fly in and be handed a mimosa. We will then run through the numbers of what this year looked like and what it presented, the downs, the ups, the everythings. We have a couple of sponsors that will talk to them about some people that's come across in partnerships. And then from there, we'll go off and have another a big trivia fun thing to do, and a fabulous dinner overlooking Vivid in Sydney Harbor. That's the end of financial year. We also do another one of those at Christmas time. So they all come together. And I think one of those things is those things are big things. They're expensive. They're costly to do. But if you've got a big team working together, the downtime for them to come together and be together and network together in a non-working related type thing, you can't beat that. So you have to work those into your business, no matter how big your business. Maybe it's going down to the pub for dinner, having family nights, or whatever that might be. And I think one of the best things that we do here is I have on that end of financial year, because I budget for this, I have a brains trust. So I let everybody break up into their own teams. They have 4 minutes to pitch an idea to me and Angus about how we can lift our game or do something that would make the business run better and more profitable.
Love
so
that.
We've got a trophy, we've got the whole thing, point system, and they have to develop. They can't go to the marketing team and make the marketing team do their presentation. They can select their own team, and you've got 4 minutes. So that's one of the things, and you cannot believe how competitive it gets and secretive. It's tremendous. So yeah, so that's an annual award that goes around just corporately.
Okay, absolutely love that. Would you share one thing, if you can, that has come from the Brains Trust that as a business you've implemented?
Yeah, so last year we did AI into our DigiKit, which is in production right now. So we have a platform that we've developed here. So instead of having paper presentations that you leave with the potential seller, we have, they do that as well. I think some of the guys still do that because if they're older couples, but we have a digital link that goes across to the potential vendor. They can click on it. The whole presentation is there, and that's AI driven. And in the back of that, the all the information about their property, what the CMA says about their property, all the partners that can come in and help prepare their home. And also they can electronically sign the agency agreement with that. So that's one of the things that's come out of that. What we've done is we've tweaked that whole process. But the beauty behind DigiKit is the fact that every time the person opens it, the agent gets an SMS. And it also gives them a report. So if they're hung on something, whether it be the marketing, maybe fees or something they're not quite understanding, you'll know how much time they spent on that section of DigiKit.
And it gives you a reason to call.
Yes, you better pick up the phone. You better.
That's a bit strange. God, I was just. How did you know I was
about you? My goodness.
Yeah, no, I mean, we there's a couple of stuff here that, when I come over next week, we'll talk about it. And I know I'm coming over with Luke, and Luke is absolutely loves this tech, and he's building his own platforms here. So I think you're gonna have fascinating conversations with Luke. I'm just going to sit there and listen and try and decipher what the hell you're both talking about.
That's good. That's good.
So that's great. One of the things that I see agents struggle with is actually implementation and accountability. So, obviously that AI DigiKit, great, you've actioned it, you've implemented, but there's a lot of people that find action and implementation very hard. So how do you hold people accountable and actually get them to implement?
I think, again, this goes back to culture. At corporate level, it's quite easy. It's when you've got people that aren't doing their job, it really stands out quite quickly. When you've got the culture right, again, I don't need to ask twice. I don't ask anybody twice to do anything. And it's not because I rule with an iron fist. It's because the team are so strong, they don't want to let anybody down. So I think that's having that sort of culture. It takes a while to learn how to do that. At an agency level, at an office level, I set KPIs, and I'm just like, I just ask the question as the leader, as the person that is being accountable, why didn't you make those calls? How are you going to make up the difference? Because I see your appraisals are dropping, or you haven't been in front of that many. What's the problem? What's the holdup? Is it training? Is it a mental block? Do you have something going on personally? What do we need to talk about? And I just approach it just flat out. There's no other way to gently go around it. And trust me, as a person that sat there, as soon as you start to put pressure on them and go, hey, I acknowledge that you're not hitting your numbers. What's the problem? They're either going to leave the business, and that's probably a good thing, because you just, that desk cost that you have that person in there. And that's another thing. You really need to know your desk costs. So is that guy making you money, or is he burning your money? So and sometimes when you start to put those pressures on those people need it. Some people need that pressure put on them as an agent, that prospecting piece, but then they shouldn't. They should know that you're going to walk around the corner and go, mate, you're not making the calls. You're not going to hit your numbers. What's happening? Let's talk about it. And ask hard questions. Maybe real estate isn't for you. Is this not for you? You know that you've got 3 years of hard yakka before anybody really remembers your name. That's the truth of it. If you're fresh into the industry, you've got 3 years of hard pushing, prospecting before somebody picks up the phone to call to you and ask you for the business.
Yeah. So rather than being a chase agent, you're that attraction agent.
That's right.
100%. So I know you were involved in a tech startup as well.
Yes. For my sins, yes.
For your sins. So what tech are you seeing? You touched on AI, and you touched on the AI DigiKit, and obviously there's loads of different AI versions out there.
I think now, I don't know. Oh, sorry, I'll let you finish. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. I was just gonna say, what are you seeing tech-wise in Australia that you really like, that maybe you're integrating and is working well with a business?
Well, we personally, right here, we have I brought the tech team with me when I left the prop tech company, so they've worked for me now two gigs, so they've come across. Just going on the tech thing, like, I love tech, and I really love and fascinated at where it's going, but I believe that we're a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of different tech that's out there. We're just, it's to the point of, my offices are like, everybody's calling, everybody's scrounging around for a little bit of money. Look at me. I've, a lot of the same ideas presented in different ways. There's a lot of replication. And sometimes people, I'm saying this to big tech companies that come in and pitch to us. I'm like, have you actually ever worked in a real estate office? Because what you're presenting to me sounds like a pain in the butt. You're not really alleviating anything. You're putting in another step, and that's not what they need. So if the tech is out there and it's something that automates something, yes. But many times it's tech companies coming to real estate agents that have an idea for a vendor that is now pitching it, wanting the agent to pitch that to the vendor or the buyer. And I see a lot of that. And I sat in front of some guys that have a great idea, but I just said to them, you're relying on real estate agents to sell your idea. That's not going to happen.
Okay, you're going to love meeting Luke. You really are next week. So he's working on something called Agents Connect.
Yep.
And he's starting to get some really good traction in the UK. And this despite running his own agency as well.
Oh my gosh.
And he's built his own CRM system, you know, and just he gets it. So you two are going to have an absolute fun.
I'm excited.
Good. Okay. Is there any, you know, one thing out there in Australia that you think's working really well on the tech side?
I think CCT's got a really good program with their, we have a thing called Amplify. It's with, it takes all of our digital components and amplifies all of them across social media. That's really worked for us. As a matter of fact, we've got, I'll show you some stats on that when you guys come. We are selling, I think it's 16 days faster than a normal house and getting $36,000 more for the property on average. So for me, that's hitting the mark. It again is one of those things. It sits in the background and grabs this data. You don't even may not even be thinking you're a buyer, but now you're buying it. So it's pretty clever. That same company's got another product coming out called Zurch. So keep your eye out for that. The people that are developing these things, I think, are pretty smart. They're more of a global type feel. So ZRCH is how you spell that. So keep your eye out for that. I know they're in South Africa right now, and I think they'll be launching in the UK soon. They're very smart. I love the way they think. Christian's, I'm brutal with Christian when we catch up. He's one of the founders and CEOs of it. And I'm just like, you're talking out your hat, man. That's not going to happen like that. So you need to configure it this way or that way. So they're very, again, great listeners taking on board what it's really like to be down in the trenches. So I think that's probably some of my favorite stuff. Again, we're so bombarded right here, Stephen, because real estate is on everybody's mind. And I don't really have anybody out there right now that's in the forefront of really knocking me down, going, oh my God, I really got to have it.
Okay. So you made an interesting point about Amplifier, about your days on market, 16 days less, and I think £36,000 more in the seller's pocket. Yeah. We were having a conversation off air about putting more money in the seller's pocket, and you know, fees in the UK at the moment are a race to the bottom, and you know, I think the average UK fee is about 1%. And for me, I don't think the consumer actually understands what agents do. Yeah. So let's talk about fees. So, how do you get a higher fee? And what you know, what Raine and Horne
I personally work off of a scale. So, you know, you need to back yourself a little bit. So, and that's how you just be really blunt with them and say, look, I know you're meeting with other agents. At this point, that's when you really lean into them and say, I'm here to tell you how I'm going to sell your house. You know what the brand is, you know who we are, but let me walk you through the steps of how I'm going to do this. And I'm going to back myself. So I'm happy to start low, but I'm going to do a sliding scale. So the more money I make you, the more I make. Is that fair?
Sounds good to me.
And that's pretty much how most of the offices that I've ever run, I always implement that. Back yourself. Back yourself. Be courageous. Back yourself. This 1% stuff, that'll send you broke.
Couldn't agree more. Okay. Another thing that needs improving in the UK is a proper stay in touch policy. So most buyers, once they go into witness protection and never hear from their agents. What's your stay in touch policy like?
So if you're a seller, if I'm working for you and you're a seller, you will hear from me every day but Sunday. If I am sick or something's happened to me, my assistant will be calling you and giving you an update. And there may be no update. And be quite frank, don't make shit up. Just go in there and be, I don't have an update for you, but I'm just checking on you. You guys okay? Great. Just to let you know, the last open house looked great. Keep doing what you're doing. It is literally just a touch base, and ask them how they're doing. You know, we forget as agents how dang stressful it is to have your property on the market. It's stressful. And most people are selling for a reason. They're not selling because it's fun. They're selling because they've got to move. So remember, again, having that empathy or that compassion about what people are going through. Ask them how they're coping. You guys okay? Is there any other information that you need? Is there any other tips or tricks that you need to make sure the house is right? Okay, perfect. Listen, enjoy your evening. I'll speak to you tomorrow. That's it. And every single person that has a listing for me would get that call. Your buyers, you've got to keep in touch with your buyers. As the price guide moves down or up or whatever, you know you've got that set of buyers that are there, that are interested, that keep showing up. Stay in contact with them. Don't be a stalker, but contact them with relevant information about the property. And that might be, hey, we didn't see you come through the property this weekend. I just wanted to let you know there were 8 new people coming through. Share that with them. That now creates a sense of urgency.
Okay. After completion or after settlement, what's your stay in touch policy?
Always anniversaries. Always anniversaries. Anytime. Now, again, I'm the type of person, they're in my empire. So occasionally I'm going to, hey, just went by the house. If I notice that you've done anything different to that house, I'm going to drop you a note. Congratulations. The place looks amazing. It's just little things like that, because now you're part of their life. Why would you step out of their life? You've made that connection. You sold them that house. What's the stats? I'm not sure what the stats are in the UK about a property rolling over, but over here it's 6 or 7 years. Well, you know, if you're a 30-year-old agent, you might be, if you do your job really well, you're going to be able to sell that property 3 times. So what's that property worth to you as a commission? So if your average commissions over there, or I don't know what they are, £14,000, I'm guessing, maybe more. What are they? What are your average commissions? Oh gosh, don't disappoint me.
Yeah, you don't want to know. So obviously it varies from region to region. Yeah. I think the average UK fee is somewhere between £3,000 and £4,000. Okay,
so let's go with the, you know, that's £12,000 right there. That potential property is, if you manage that buyer, each one of those buyers, because each one of those buyers are eventual sellers.
And I couldn't agree more with you. And, you know, one of the things I talk about on my training is, you know, having a client for life. Yes. You know, most agents just see it as a one-off transaction, you know, and I know in America they're very, very good with all the different touch points. But here, you know, for some reason, buyers go into witness protection. They are future sellers. They never get hear from their agent. You know,
it's one of the easiest things that you can do. Have a separate calendar that reminds you of anniversaries. If that's what you need to do, if your CRM doesn't do it for you, then have a separate calendar, which is buyer's calendar. So, you know, when they bought it, set in some certain reminders each time, get your EA to do it. So, you know, here's a reminder, to contact that person. Walk past the property. You know that you would have data that as soon as someone buys a property, they spend X number of pounds on doing whatever to it, whether it's the front yard or they'll do something to the house. So, and any kind of information that you can go, I mean, let her drop them with information about, hey, I know you bought 2 years ago. Did you know that your house is now worth XYZ? Start talking like that. The house median in this area has gone up by 2%. Congratulations.
Yeah. Simple, isn't it?
Yeah, so simple. So once you put the processes in place, it's easy. Don't be thinking about them at a knee-jerk thing. So when you go and when you move from this podcast today or this training session that you have with them, you make them go and put that stuff in there right now. Set that process up right now. Then you don't have to think about it. It's the stuff that you got to think about. Oh, I forgot to do that. Oh, now I've got to do that. Set the processes in place so it automates right through. We all have the technology to do it.
Okay, brilliant. I'm very conscious of time, so I'm going to ask you a couple more questions. Yep. What do you do to self-improve and learn?
I have a mentor that is not in the industry, which is great. So at business level, I like to hear someone, and I think it's a separate person, not attached to anyone in my office. And no matter what the issues are, personal, business, whatever, you got to have that quiet, safe space to offload some stuff or to bounce an idea. I've got a fantastic mentor that is in the industry. So when I think about doing stuff, or hey, how do you think that would float? That's pretty off the wall, but what do you think about that? At a corporate level, network level. Yeah, but I keep my cards pretty close to my chest around that everything. And again, I'm very much a watcher. I pretty much like to watch what other people are doing and go, yeah, I like that idea. Let's see how it pans out. And it's always okay to follow in behind. Let someone else cut the path in the woods. You don't always have to be the first person to roll it out. So that's sort of what I do. And I've got a fantastic husband too. So he gets an earful every once in a while.
Any books that you recommend or podcasts?
No, because I don't really have time to listen to them when I'm in the car. I'm usually calling clients. I'm still very much, even though and this is at my level, you'd think, oh, we've got 300 offices here. How does she get around to see everybody? I set KPIs for myself. I go and see 5 offices a month and just no agenda whatsoever. I get my EA to book in a time and I walk in and just say, good morning, let's have a cup of tea. How's life? What's happening? What's going on? What do you see in the marketplace? What don't I see? That sort of stuff, just checking in. And sometimes there are unpleasant conversations because they want to have a whinge. That's okay. But that's me. Just, again, rolling through the network, letting them know, hey, I'm here when there is a problem. So I spend my whole time, I'm headed to the Southern Highlands tomorrow, and I'll be on the phone for an hour and a half. Just running through the phone, haven't spoken to them for a month. Let me call them. That's me.
Okay, final question. What is the best bit of advice that you could give to anybody in agency that you've been given? Doesn't have to be an agency, but...
Don't be afraid to be tenacious. Don't be, and particularly women. This is going to sound terrible. Oh gosh, I'm going to be very careful here. I'm going to be very careful. Be brave, be courageous, set the goal, write the goal down, reread the goal, adjust the goal, but always go for the goal because there is no better feeling. And I've done that my whole life. And here I am, I'm from Oklahoma, no higher education. I've had to self-teach myself. I mean, imagine where I came from, where there were no computers, we were fax machine, we didn't have mobile phones back in the day, so I just embraced every dang thing because I thought, I don't want it to run past me. I want to run with it. And I'm going to embrace this because that's what's going to get me to my goal. And women tend to step back and be polite. Don't have to be polite all the time. You can be forthright. You can be assertive. You can push yourself out there. Do it. Just bloody do it.
Well, a lovely way to end. So, Mindy, thank you so much for your time today. If people want to get hold of you, how would they do that, please?
They can email me, which is probably the best way to get a hold of me. So that's mindy.powell, Powell -Hodges, HODGES @corp.rh.com.au. And I would welcome any questions.
Brilliant. Well, look, thanks for being an amazing guest. I'm super excited now to meet you in person next week. So
I'm excited to meet you too.
And thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Really appreciate it. And I look forward to sharing loads of stuff from Australia over the course of the next couple of weeks. So thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you. Safe travel, Stephen. Look forward to seeing you. Thank you.